Hello everyone! So our topic today is solving quadratic equations. Our learning objectives are: first, solve quadratic equations of the form ax squared plus bx plus c equals to 0 by factorization. And second, to solve quadratic equations by completing the square. And then to solve quadratic equations by using the quadratic formula, and lastly to solve quadratic inequalities. So we start from factorizing. There are three types of quadratic equations with a or the coefficient of x squared equals to 1. First, if b equals to 0. So for example, is this equation x squared minus c equals to 0 because the b, which is the coefficient of x, is 0. So we only have x squared and the constanta. To solve this one, we have to move the constanta to the right side. So we've got x squared equals to c, and then we square root both sides. We've got x equals to plus minus square root of c. Then the second type is c equals to 0. So we've got this type of quadratic equations, x squared plus bx equals to 0. To solve this equation, we have to factorize them. It means we have to take out the highest common factor to make them to be in this form, x times x plus b equals to 0. And then we solve it by x equals to 0 or x equals to negative b. The last type is if b didn't equals to 0 and c didn't equals to 0. So we've got this type of quadratic equation, x squared plus bx plus c equals to 0. To solve this one, we have to find two numbers. When we times them, we've got c, and when we add them, we've got b. So after we find those two numbers, and then we factorize it by making it in this form, x plus p times x plus q, and then solve it, and we've got x equals to negative p or x equals to negative q. But what if we found an equation and the a, aka the coefficient of the x squared, is not 1? So the way to solve that kind of quadratic equations is for us to take out any common factor first. For example, we've got 16x squared minus 81 equals to 0. So we have to move the constanta to the right side. So we've got 16x squared equals to 81. After it, we divide both sides by 16. So we've got x squared equals to 81 divided by 16. And then square root both sides. So we've got x equals to plus minus square root of 81 divided by 16, which is 9/4. Second example is 3x squared plus 6x equals to 0. So from this equation, you can see that there is common factor from both sides, which is 3 and x. So we take out 3x and the equation becomes like this, 3x times x plus 2. After it, we solve this equation, so we've got x equals to 0 or x equals to negative 2. Third example is 2x squared minus 10x plus 12 equals to 0. So from this one, we also can see that the common factor is 2. So we take out 2 and make the equation like this. We've got 2 times x squared minus 5x plus 6 equals to 0. So to solve this kind of equation, we need to find two numbers that when we times them, it becomes 6, and when we add them, we've got negative 5. So the numbers are negative 2 and negative 3. So the solution from this equation is 2 times x minus 2 times x minus 3 equals to 0. So we've got x equals to 2 or x equals to 3. But if there is no simple number factor, then the equation will take more time to solve. For example, is this 3x squared plus 8x plus 4 equals to 0. There is no common factor from the three terms. So to solve this equation, we need to expand the 8x. So how to expand it? By find two numbers that when we times them, it becomes 12, which is the a times c, and when we add them, it becomes 8. So the numbers are 6 and 2, because 6 times 2 is 12 and 6 plus 2 is 8. So we expand the 8x to become like this: 3x squared plus 6x plus 2x plus 4 equals to 0. After we find this form, then you can see that from the first two terms there are common factors, and the last two terms there is also a common factor. So we take out the common factor and we've got this form. After it, you can also see the common factor is x plus 2. So take out the common factor x plus 2, and we've got x plus 2 times 3x. The 3x comes from this, plus 2 comes from this. So the factor or the solution from these equations is x equals to negative 2 or x equals to negative 2 over 3. Next, we have to learn how to solve quadratic equations by completing the square. So how exactly is completing the square? So if we have this kind of equations, x squared plus bx plus c, to complete the square, we first put the x and then divide the coefficient of x terms by 2. So x plus b divided by 2, and then we square them. After we subtract it by b over 2 square, and then put the plus c. Okay, so for example, we've got this equation, x squared plus 2x minus 5 equals to 0. So we want to solve it by completing the square. And don't forget, this one is the formula to completing the square. And then we just need to substitute it by the equation we have. So x squared plus 2x minus 5 mean the coefficient of the x term is 2. So b over 2 is equals to 2 over 2, which is 1. So after we found the b over 2 is equals to 1, just put the 1 to the formula. So we've got x plus 1 square minus 1 square minus 5, because the constanta from our equation before is minus 5. So negative 1 square is negative 1 minus 5 is negative 6. So we've got x plus 1 square minus 6. And then after we found this complete square, we put it back to our equations. So the equations becomes like this: x plus 1 square minus 5 equals to 0. We move the minus 6 to the right side, so we've got x plus 1 square equals to 6. And then square root both sides, so we've got x plus 1 equals to plus minus square root of 6. So the solution we've got first is negative 1 plus square root of 6, or x equals to -1 minus square root of 6. Now we learn how to solve quadratic equations using quadratic formula. So, if we've got these quadratic equations, then the solution of these equations is using quadratic formula is x equals to -b plus minus square root of b squared minus 4a times c divided by 2a. Okay, so for example, we have these equations, x squared plus 3x plus 2 equals to 0. So first we have to decide which is a, b, and c. A is the coefficient of x squared, so we've got a equals to 1. B is the coefficient of x, so we've got b equals to 3. And c is the constanta, so we've got c equals to 2. And by quadratic formula, we have this. X equals to -3 plus minus square root of 3 squared minus 4 times 1 times 2 divided by 2 times 1. So if you calculate this right, we've got the solution is x equals to -1 or x equals to -2. But the things we have to note by using this quadratic formula that a is the coefficient of x squared. So it is not necessarily the first number in the equation. Always remember to rearrange the equation into the form ax squared plus bx plus c equals to 0 to make it easier for us to decide which one is a, which one is b, or which one is the c. So we put in the correct number to the formula. Last topic for us to learn today is solving quadratic inequalities. Okay, so for example, we have these inequalities. X squared plus 7x plus 10 greater than or equals to 0. So by using factorization, we have x plus 2 times x plus 5 greater than or equals to 0. Okay, so from these inequalities we've got, we know that the solution is related to either -2 or -5. Number line, so we draw a number line like this and we put the dot in -5 and -2. That means that either these two is the solution. Okay, so by putting the dots in -5 and -2, the number line is divided into 3 regions. First is less than -5, and the second area is between -5 and -2, and the third area is greater than -2. So to know which area, which region is the solution from these inequalities, we have to substitute the value of each this area to this inequality. So for this first area, this first region, we put in -5, we put in -6 into this inequality. So -6 plus 2 times -6 plus 5. -6 plus 2 is -4 times -6 plus 5 is -1. So -4 times -1 means +4. So the result, if we put in the value from the first region, is positive. So we make this positive sign in that region. Okay, for the second region, we do the same things. We choose one value to put into this inequality. So we've got the result is in negative. Do the same steps for the third region, greater than -2. So we've got the result is in positive. So because the inequality asks us to find the solution greater or equals to 0, which means the positive. So the solution we've got from this number line is these two regions. So the solution is x less than or equals to -5, which is this region, or x greater than or equals to -2, which is this region.